Hey, my name's Jonathan Clark, also known as DJ Bolivia. I'm here with Francis Cormier, Urban Francis, and this video is part of a series of about half a dozen videos. It's about a techno project that we put together using Ableton Live. The track is called Hijack, and this particular video is going to be about the Vox. If you haven't seen any of the other videos in this series, if this is the first one you're looking at, you may want to go back and look at the overview video first to get a better idea what this whole project's about. But for now, Francis, you can take it away. We'll look at the Vox. And I'll point out too, the Vox, we've got a Vox group in this track, but it's only got one specific track within that grouping folder.
Okay, and the Vox sample that we use, we did download that from Splice. The Vox is in 3 parts of the song. I'm just going to go to the first part of the song, and let you listen to the Vox by itself. Get it to start there. I might actually set a flag just so, since I'm working in there, then I can keep hitting on that flag and it'll start that position. So that's how it sounds by itself, and this is how it sounds with the track going. So I guess the big thing that I did to the Vox, the first thing is we'll go to the the track itself and the processing that we did on it. The first thing here you can see is an audio effect rack, and what I did was I took an auto filter and I right-clicked on it, and I clicked on Control G or clicked on Group Track. So that grouped the track, and when it groups the track, then it gives you these macros. You could go right to the track itself and do the actual automation, but in some cases I like assigning it to a macro. So what I did was I assigned the filter to the macro, and actually I should check the map to see if I did any settings on the map too. I might have just left it. No, I did change the map to a low and a high. So when you click on this map, this allows you to actually control the settings of the macro, and you can have, in this case we're using frequencies, so you can have a minimum of 0 and a high of 20 kilohertz. So what I did was I have that on the macro, and then if you click on this, actually I clicked on it, and so when I clicked on it, it actually disabled the macro, as you saw it went from a red to a gray. So if I come up here and I click on that plus button, it'll actually show me just the automation. It creates an automation lane, and I can see the automation separate from the track. So what you do is you right click on it, and then you go on re-enable automation, and then it's back, and now you'll hear it in the actual track. So what I did here is I created, just because when the track was playing at first, and we had the vocals come in right away, it was very jarring and sudden. So by creating this filter, it kind of makes it smoother, and it comes in smoother. And I guess another way I could have done the actual auto filters, you can go into, because it's an audio track, you can click on the audio track and right click, and it actually click on the audio track, right click, and it says show fades. So I could have done it this way, and it actually, when I clicked in it, the fade came up. I'll close the actual automation lane that we were using there just so it doesn't confuse you. But I could have actually did a filter using the fade and just gone up like that. I decided to go with the auto filter, more control and a little bit simpler, I guess, in this case. So I'm going to go Shift Command Z. Or actually, I'll just get rid of the... I can just click on this to go no fades. So this is the automation that I did. I have a little bend on it, and I've shown it in an earlier video, but you can create the bend by Alt, and I have it bent up like that so it comes in faster. You could have it bent down like that. And then at the very end, I wanted the audio, or I wanted the vocal to be completely audible, and so this is kind of like the main ending of the section. And to make it, I guess we'll stick down here. I did use an EQ8, and it does look kind of crazy, but the vocals, I'll play them, and you can look at the in EQ8, you can see the frequency. So when you look at the frequency, there's not really anything below there. So I had the cut at 178. So I mean, I could pull it in. It does show a little bit more, but by doing that cut there, it doesn't really take away from the sound. This dip here, I'm guessing it's for a drum or a hi-hat in another track. And the reason why I kind of think I got away with cranking this thing up here, it's the 6, and I have it on a shelf. It's a a low shelf or a high shelf. I think it's a high shelf. And I was able to kind of crank it up because the rest of our track, we don't have a lot of mid-range frequency sounds. So I was kind of able to get away with like really cranking that, and it really helped make it present in the overall track. Play it all together really. When I get rid of that actual point on the EQ8, you're gonna notice a huge difference. Just kind of disappeared. So this is messing around, just trying to find out settings that work best. Next on the processing I have is a reverb, and this reverb is a preset. And so what I did was, when you're putting a reverb and you want to use a preset, you can click on that button there, it turns orange, and that brings you up to all the different reverbs. And I clicked, because we're using a vocal, I thought it was just kind of a common sense thing. It was the only thing that really said voice. And one of the cool things that I noticed is that if you put a preset on in Ableton and you scroll on top of it like that, if you look into the device or the info window, it says vocal reverb and slight chorus, and attenuates low frequencies or not to interfere with other instruments. So I use this preset, but the big thing is when I'm using this preset, I do change the parameters. So this is a filter, a high cut and a low cut. I did a low cut because a lot of times you don't want, if you put reverb on really low frequencies, it can actually muddy up the sound a lot. So I did do a cut, and because I wanted all the highs, and I have all the highs in the vocals, I left that open. And the pre-delay is a big thing in that this is kind of like this, how much sound gets let through before the actual reverb starts to act. So right now, like, you can kind of hear I better solo on it. You can hear the sound and then the tail of the reverb. But if I take the pre-delay all the way down, that means that the reverb is starting the same time as the audio starting. So it kind of becomes one. And it's really from 0 to 30 that it sounds like the reverb and the audio sound like they're in the exact same spot. And then once you get above 30, the dry sound kind of separates from the reverb. And I'm guessing this pre-delay at 90 is the actual vocal pre-delay. The shape I kept the same. The stereo, I have it up all the way, and what the stereo does is if you look into the info window, the stereo determines the width of outputs. Each ear-reverberant channel, it makes it independent. So the reverb, because the vocals are wide in our speakers, I left it open like that, so that the reverb on the left, the reverb on the right is slightly different. The decay time can have a big difference. The diffusion network. This is a filter too, a high cut and a low cut. But all these settings did come with the voice setting, and then the main setting that everyone uses the most is and everyone would use would be the dry wet. And usually when you bring in a reverb, sometimes they give it to you like that, and obviously it's kind of useless like that. So what you have to do is you have to just find like a sweet. I picked 30%, but it could be 50% if that's what you wanted. Maybe I might want it higher later too. Like by A being it, maybe later I'll think it sounds better higher. So that's the processing rate on it. And then actually on the group itself, we just have it's a sidechain, and I just have it. The vocals themselves are really wide, and so because the vocals are wide, a lot of times when you're using a sidechain, you're trying to get it to duck so that you can hear the drums better. But because the vocals are wide, I did a very tiny. I have a very tiny gain reduction going, and really I just have that going a little bit to help it actually bounce a bit with the track, to make it go with the track. It's not really ducking or changing the sound that much. And that's pretty much everything that we did for the vocals.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is that, you know what? Actually, look, we actually applied that fade in on that clip. Anyway.
Oh yeah, we did.
But that's not too important right now. The one thing I do want to point out is with that EQ8, where we've got that plus, is it a +6 shelf, I think? It's, I'm not usually a fan of boosting with an equalizer. It's quite often it leads to distortion somehow. It's generally a bad idea. Usually subtractive EQing is a lot better. This is one of those few occasions where it actually worked out really well, and it brings the sound out in the mix a lot better. So that's probably all we need to talk about for the Vox, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move on to the next video.